Okay, one of the biggest problems that traders have is entries and exits, which you could also call areas of interest, location, and of course you could call it like uh, support, resistance, supply, demand, and so on. Well, when it comes to entries and exits, this is what is killing a lot of traders because they end up either placing trades too early or too late. And what I have right in front of us is the Flippy. I have an indicator that I created called the Flippy indicator, and this simply draws these horizontal lines as you can see. You can see that my chart is not messy. Well, my charts are never messy, right? Messy, Ronaldo. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, so my charts are never messy, but um this indicator simply helps me to reduce having to draw my levels manually, levels or zones or areas of interest. Now, if you look over here, we have this blue horizontal here, another blue horizontal here, another red horizontal here. Now, based on my programming, I tend to look to the left, and that's why I call it flippy, right? Like this one here, you can see some form of support here, little mess up here, and then you have support here as well. And if you look at this blue line over here, we have some resistance here, we mess it up here, or we have support here, we have some support here, some resistance here, support, resistance, resistance. And of course, you keep on looking at the other lines that it draws, right? Now, based on these levels, it's a simple, this section here is resistance and here is support. And if it breaks this resistance, it turns to support. That's why it's called flippy, flip zones, flipping from support to resistance and so on. So basically what we have over here, you can see price is reacting, even though it breached this resistance area, but price is reacting over here. This is the 1 hour time frame. I'm sure by the time you switch this to 4 hours, it might probably be showing you a possible pin bar. I'm just guessing. Either 4 hours time frame or 8 hours time frame. For those that are interested in trading using candlestick patterns like the pin bars, hammers, engulfings, and so on. Now, based on what we have here, right? Normally, if you were to follow this recent wave, because price tends to move in waves, if you were to follow this recent wave, what you should be looking at is buying at this support here, right? Because price broke out of this resistance and it should act as support. But based on this, for me, this entry is good, but the level where you take your profit here is not the best. It's too close. Even though I could easily be aiming for a higher point over here. But I still need to take into consideration why price break this level and then turn over here. That means that we definitely have sellers at this point here. So if you like, you could call this a mini resistance. But my indicator has not drawn that yet. It has not signaled this as an area to pay attention to yet. So for this, I would really like to be a buyer. And of course, because here is too close, I would like to see price drop further down to this area here of support, where I would like to buy here, put my stop loss somewhere lower. And of course, I'll be looking for a take profit at the highs of this point here, the highs of this week. We're using the hourly time frame. So this is the high of this weekly candle as of now. So this is my point of view based on what I'm looking at for the Euro USD. Another thing we always tell traders is to pay attention to the news. If we cross over to the calendar, you'll notice that we have a lot of high impact news this week. And of course, this is the first of the month, so happy new month to everybody. And we have the non-farm payroll on Friday. So before then, we have the likes of retail sales and other things. You can see everything is pointing to the US dollar, right? Today, tomorrow, Thursday, and of course, Friday, the US dollar. So we're expecting some volatility, some fresh volatility to be introduced to the major currency pairs. And that's why most times when we look at the fundamentals from First Factory here, and we look for USD number one, we cross over to our chart where we look at what's happening with the USD index, also known as DXY, depending on the broker that you are using. So over here, I have USD index over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to drag it in, and don't forget, based on the flippy indicator, automatically it's going to draw those important levels for me. So I don't have to focus on drawing them manually. So here I'm going to drag this USD index in, and then you can see what is happening. And of course, based on USD index and the Euro USD, they tend to behave most times than not in the opposite directions, right? And if you look over here, similar to the Euro USD, it breached this level, but it's still reacting to this point here as a form of support, right? Now, for this, what I really like to see is price pull back to this area here, where I can look for a bearish pattern. It could be bearish pattern, candlestick patterns, or even chart patterns, but it has to be bearish, obviously, because we're looking forward to selling at the resistance. And then I get my entry here, and I take it back to this lows over here, or maybe even further down. You could look for some areas here. If you see what I'm doing manually, I'm doing it from the left all the way to the right. Why? Because I'm picking out these areas here of interest, resistance, and a whole bunch of support here, and so on. The same thing here, little resistance, support. You can see with this massive candle, it still came back here and closed here as support. The same thing over here. So when you look to the left, you have a lot of things, a lot of information that will help you to know where price might most likely react to, right? So this is USD index. So if the USD index should push higher to this point of resistance, just like we looked at the Euro USD, we should be expecting the Euro USD to do what? We should be expecting the Euro USD to drop down to this area and then also push higher. Another thing I like to do is to use the Fibonacci, right? When you put in your Fibonacci retracement, at least for the information for this week, because Fibonacci drawing also could be a bit complicated for some. But I say you could draw it based on the daily candle, based on the weekly candle, and so on. Now, this is the weekly information that we have. Let me just mark this area here. This is the weekly information that we have here as of now. Check your charts as well to confirm that. So if I draw the Fibonacci retracement from the lows here to the highs over here, now you can see that that area that we mapped over here where price should be coming to, this blue area here of support, it has confluence with 38.2. Even if there's a little breach or whatever the case might be, it's still within that area here of 38.2 to 50. So this would be a good area for me to place a buy entry. And don't forget, as we said earlier, this is one of the major problems that traders are having today, and that is the problem of entries and exits. And of course, you could make this your exit, or if you're using like expansion or whatever of the Fibonacci, it could give you something much higher where you have this area here of resistance, right? So stick around, guys. We will be talking more and more about the flippy indicator because it has already helped us to map out our levels, our zones, our areas of interest. All we have to do is to wait for price to react to those places, and then we look for a trigger in the case of your candlestick patterns, your chart patterns. And if you like, some could even use pending orders, meaning that they're not waiting for any confirmation whatsoever. So over here, I wouldn't advise it because I'm not the biggest fan of setting penny orders. Over here, you can set a penny order around 1.1520. And if you look also, it's more or less close to a round number of 1.1500. But of course, that will breach this major area here of interest, right? So let's round up this video now. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you need to test, if you want to test the flippy indicator, comment below as well, and I can give you free access to it. Okay, trade safely, guys, and goodbye for now. Cheers.